Hey guys, and welcome to Tnashi's Movie Corner. So, as you can see, I had this come in today, Batman the Killing Joke box. I got this on Amazon. The only problem with Amazon sometimes is you can't actually determine the quality of the boxes until you get it. So, you can't see it in advance, so you see that little dent right there. Sometimes stuff like that irritates me a little bit more than other times, but you can tell it's a limited edition. This is a kind of collector set. This was slightly cheaper than the one at that Best Buy has. However, as we open it up here, you see we got the movie, which we'll get to. And we got the figure, and I'm not going to take the figure out, kind of like I left the other one in for Justice League versus Teen Titans, but you have a Joker figure. Has some nice detail to it. I like the figure. It's just, they're tiny, but you can see the stand too with the card. Pretty neat. The only issue I have with this one, again, this one was slightly cheaper than the one that you can get at Best Buy. However, it does not contain a book that the Best Buy one comes with. And I'm not sure what's all in the book. If it's like the Justice League one, then it has some of the comics in there, in the volume, and I have the Killing Joke itself, so I just wasn't sure, and it was a little more expensive. So I didn't get that. I went ahead and went with this one, which was a little cheaper. Here's the case of it. As you can tell, you can feel the image, even the title. I really like this. I like the shine to it. I like the color. I like the image itself. That's really cool, guys. Like, I really like that. Joker on the side. I like the shine to it. I like the back artwork. I don't know if I'm assuming it's the same. Yes, we can already tell it is the same. But that just elevates it. That brings something more to a slipcover than just your standard slipcover. So I'm okay with that. Yeah, same artwork, but still really cool. And we got some special features. I don't know if you can see that or not. But we have Batman the Killing Joke, the Many Shades of the Joker featurette, Madness Set to Music featurette. With all of these DC movies, you get bonus cartoons from the shows. So I'm not sure. It just says 2 bonus. So I'm not sure which ones those are. I'll have to talk about that later. Plus a sneak peek at the next animated movie, which is always nice. I really like doing that. So this movie's gone and had a lot of controversy for those that have seen it already. It is based off Batman the Killing Joke, which is a very popular, if not the most popular, comic for the Batman series. And it's a really dark one. And so they had a lot of dark subject matter to go with. This is an R-rated movie, which is the first R-rated DC animated movie, as far as I know. So I believe it's the first one. But the graphic novel itself is not long enough to warrant a full-length feature. So they added some stuff in, and there's some controversy on that, and the animation, and just other stuff here or there. I have yet to see the movie. I didn't see it when it was in it was limited release in theaters. I did not see it. So I'm going to watch it, and then I'm going to go ahead and come back and give you guys my opinion on the movie. But I love the case. I love the case. I love the artwork of it. I love just everything about that. And I like the figure. I like the collector set itself. So I really approve of that. Let's go ahead and see just how much I like the movie and give my thoughts on it. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into the review of The Killing Joke. I am joined with Brad. Say hi.
Hey everyone.
Okay, so you had not read the graphic novel The Killing Joke before seeing the movie.
No, I have not.
And I had. So I wanted to get his perspective on it too, because, depending on what you know going into it, may somewhat reflect in your opinion of the movie. So, do you want to start or you want me to start?
I feel it'd be better if you started since you do have the knowledge too.
Okay. So, The Killing Joke, obviously one of the most, as I said before, one of the most, if not the most popular uh, graphic novel out there regarding Batman. It's definitely had such a big impact, I think, on the DC universe as a whole, and just the dark tones with that, and the Dark Knight Returns. We see a lot of that, and a lot of the mainstream DC movies now. So, and it had again, as some do, it had a unique art style to it. We didn't quite get that with this movie, and some people really don't like the way that visually Batman looks, Joker looks, and everything. And I agree that it doesn't fit the same way as what you saw in the graphic novel, but I really didn't mind that. There are some similarities to it. I think the animation is actually pretty decent, so I don't mind the animation at all. The Killing Joke aspect of the movie, the actual Killing Joke storyline, is almost beat by beat the same as it is in the graphic novel, which I find that to be a good thing. A lot of people get upset when you deviate too much from it, and I think that part of it is very true to the comic, to the story. So, if you're happy with that, you'll be happy with this for that part of it. There are 30 minutes, however, beforehand where they choose to kind of branch out a little bit from the story and go more into Batgirl and her relationship with Batman, as well as her being Batgirl, to establish some form of character with her. So, and the point was to not make her a plot device, which she was in The Killing Joke. And I actually liked the first 30 minutes. So for me personally, even though I knew it was separate, I knew it doesn't really tie in. It's there to give Batgirl a little bit more to do, and I liked that. So I liked seeing that happen. And the thing is, in the series, in the shows, Batman and Batgirl's relationship there's been something there. It's been addressed before. Whether that's what Bruce Timm just likes or not, that's what they brought into this as well. And I was okay for it. It wasn't too jarring for me, so I didn't mind that. As far as the R rating is concerned, you could have avoided having an R rating. I can see where they could have, done some shots a little differently to do it, but I think because of the material that they're trying to cover, they didn't want to feel like they were editing it out a little bit. Although, admittedly, the sex scene is kind of edited, but
it does look like there's still a bit of censorship.
There is some censorship, yeah. But for what they didn't censor, I felt like, okay, that's fine. Like, it makes sense. It's a darker story. They're gonna try to keep some of that violence there. So overall, I mean, the voice cast was fantastic. I think they all did a great job. I had no problems with them or any of the side characters or anything like that. So I liked the standalone part, I guess, of the story. And again, I think it was there just to flesh out Batgirl a little bit more. Maybe give Batman a little bit more motivation for when what happens. I don't want to get too much into it, but again, I think it was just there to set her up, and I liked it. I liked the entire movie. I have some problems at times with the animation; can be a little jarring, but overall, I enjoyed it. But what did you think?
I would say that I didn't hate this movie, but I definitely didn't feel quite the same way. I kind of felt disappointed in some aspects. And I guess if it follows through with what the comic did pretty well, that's more of an issue with the story, like, in general, and not necessarily with this movie's interpretation of that story. But when we start off with Batgirl, like for the first third of the movie or whatever, I actually did kind of understand her, and that was great because I kind of got what she was feeling and why she was feeling this way, but I didn't get anything off of Batman. Now I know that seems kind of weird because it's like, well, Batman's always kind of reserved and guarded and stuff like that, but there seemed to be moments in this story where Batman should have actually gave us something, and he just doesn't. And that kind of creates a disconnect there because of what the story is going with. Also, I feel like some of this was better as a concept than it was as what we saw, because what we saw, is there's meant to be that challenge to Batman. If you saw the trailer, you know that there's supposed to be that thing where it's like, it's challenging Batman's mentality where he thinks that maybe their story has to end in some form or fashion. But we get all that, but I don't really feel like that actually manifested itself in the movie because I just simply didn't feel it from what was going on. And so while what was set up was like, okay, well, that's actually pretty dark, that's pretty psychologically intense, for them to go through, it just didn't really pay off that well for me. And then once we had everything said and done and we got to the ending just felt very strange, and it was almost a weird kind of drop off for me. And personally, I don't really understand why it ended this way. It seemed very anticlimactic and against what was being brought up.
You mean the ending before the credits actually started? So not the after mid-credit ending. You mean the ending before? Because the mid-credit ending was actually added on. That's not in the graphic novel. But, and I told you before, there's a point where it does switch over to the story, the actual Killing Joke story. And so, having not read that, the Killing Joke story aspect of it, you actually had a few more issues with it than I did, just because it was very true. So I can understand that, because you're looking at, and again, this is part of the problem, I think, for some people is, like me, they know what part is actually the story from the graphic novel and what part isn't. So they break it up in their head. Whereas you looked at it as one full thing, which I think is the right play to do.
Yes.
I absolutely think it's the right play to do. I can see what you meant about Batman at the beginning there. Like I had told you off camera, for me anyway, I looked at it as being from Batgirl's perspective. There's a little narrative and everything, and we pretty much see everything happening with her, so it didn't bother me as much, but I could see where it would bother someone else. And did you feel at all weird about when it crossed over to the actual Killing Joke storyline? Did it feel a little jarring to you, or did it feel like it just smoothly transitioned over? Like, did you notice?
I would say I was okay with that. I could tell, obviously, that it shifted on what its focus was, but that really didn't bother me in any bit. It was just kind of...
Right. I feel like this movie is kind of like what we get on a lot of movies, where expectations are like so high, and then so it's got to be absolutely perfect. And I think from what I've seen, some people are like, the Killing Joke to them, that part of it is almost perfect, but the 30 minutes with Batgirl is what really brings the movie down. Some people think the movie's terrible. I just don't see that. I can't rationalize that in my head. But, that's people's opinions. So, at the end of the day, what's your rating?
I'm going to give this a 5.
Oh, wow. Okay. 5. So,
because again, for me, this was my feelings toward this are pretty much neutral. There are aspects of it I really kind of liked, and then there was all these other aspects of it I really felt like could have been, well, I guess that could have been expanded upon, and I felt like there was a lot more that could have been reached here with the characters that they could have expressed that would have really brought meaning to what was being presented, and they just didn't. So it is by no means a bad or a terrible movie. It's just it failed to be a good or a great movie because it failed to deliver on these aspects. And again, that probably from what you suggested is something that I would have had issue with in the comic as well. It's just in the story, that's what I wanted from it, and it just did not happen.
Okay. Wow. For me, like I said, the animation did feel a little off at parts. I don't think it's low quality or terrible animation. It didn't resonate with me as well as some other movies have. It's very noticeable to me, the transition between the Batgirl story and the Killing Joke storyline, so I wish that had been a little smoother. As far as the Killing Joke story itself, I think it's very on point. It's damn near perfect, honestly. They didn't leave out that much. But I do feel like for an R rating, they probably shouldn't have. I shouldn't feel like they're censoring stuff for the sake of censoring stuff. And they do that. So it kind of took me out a little bit when that happened. There are some beautiful shots, though. I think that some of the shots that you got in the graphic novel you see here, they just very well done. I love the color and just kind of how it encompasses the Joker, and we get to the insight into the Joker too, or do we? That's something that gets addressed in this, so I like that. I think the voice work is, like I said, brilliant all around. Did you have any problem with the voices or the characters?
No, I think the voices were pretty good.
Okay, so I like seeing Tara Strong back. I like Mark Hamill. I like Kevin Conroy. Those, and I don't say that enough about Tara Strong. I feel I always talk about Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, but Tara Strong does a brilliant job as Batgirl, and she has done a brilliant job as Harley Quinn, and who knows how many other characters. So she's a really good voice actor, guys. Like, seriously. Mark Hamill kind of just does variations of the Joker voice a lot, but the Joker voice is iconic to me anyway, and Kevin Conroy will always be Batman, although I think Jason O'Mara does a pretty good job with that. But overall, like I said, I really enjoyed this movie. It had some things, sure, here or there, but nothing to really weigh it down that far. So giving it a rating 1 through 10, I'm actually going to give it a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. I think the Killing Joke part of it is perfect for if you're a fan of Killing Joke. So I think that part of it is perfect, minus the animation. That's the only thing. And the animation, again, is not horrible. It just isn't my type of animation that I'm used to. But the Batgirl part of it at the beginning, while it doesn't fully take out the movie for me, it's not horrible. There are some issues with it here or there. So, but anyway, that's my thoughts on it. Any final words? We did get to see the sneak peek. So, are you looking forward to that one?
I am kind of curious about that sneak peek, because that is suffice to say, it deals with an issue that's not real present and the stuff that's been, and what DC has done thus far. So it'll definitely be interesting to see where they take that.
And what issue is that?
Really? I don't think I can spoil that for our listeners.
Of course you can. It's magic. You know. And there it goes. Yeah.
But yes, magic is one of those elements. It's like, you got so many meta-humans and so many like tech heroes and all that kind of stuff. Magic, though, is something that really hasn't been brought up so much in what these movies have, in the more recent movies. So let's see what they do with that. And
really quick, special features. I love watching them. I don't know how many of you guys know that or don't know that, but I tend to watch them all, at some point I like going through and watching all the behind the scenes stuff and what have you. And so there wasn't much here in regards to that. I mean, there was a sneak peek for the next one, which I appreciate on every movie they put out. But they did have something that went through and talked about DC and the Killing Joke and what it did, and you got to see some of the images that they brought to life and everything. So I enjoy that. And the 2 bonus cartoons, we got the first episode of the Batman animated series, first one out the gate with the Joker. Took me way back. And then there was an episode from season 4 of Batman the animated series. So those are always cool bonus. But anyway, yeah, that wraps up this review. So hopefully you enjoyed this vid. Click that like button, share, subscribe to my channel, and watch my other vids. I do appreciate it, and I appreciate Brad for sitting here and giving you guys his thoughts on it. Even though screw him.
Always glad to be here.
But realistically, I wanted to get your take because it would be a different take, right? Mm-hmm. So very interested in hearing that. Like I said, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And until next time.
Peace.